Hi guys, this is the continuation of the teardown of the GT, the exhaust gas temperature indicator for aircraft. For those who want to see the teardown of the analog board, you can click on the screen somewhere on the left. By there you will have a link to the first part of the teardown. In the CPU board you have the CPU here. It's a microcontroller for the 8051 family. It was quite used in the 90s. And on the left of the board you will see a small EEPROM here, probably for the storage of calibration data or something like that. Here you have an 8-bit connectors which goes to the display. The display is here. It's a round display, it's totally sealed. And you have two wires for the backlight which are connected to the analog board. And you will see this here, the 8-bit socket which goes to this connector. You have in the middle of the board a supervisory circuit for the processor, so it generates the reset line and also a watchdog for the processor. In case of problem in the firmware, this thing will generate a reset to reset all the device. We have here a classic 6-gate inverters, and here you have the voltage reference, an AD586, difficult to read, but it's a 5-volt reference which is used effectively for the ADC. So now we can see the schematics. I made a complete reverse engineering of this CPU board. Schematics here, we'll make a zoom out. Okay, so you can see in the middle the processor. So this is a socket for the display. So you can see that it is connected to the RxD and TxD line. So the display communicates with the processor using a UART interface. And there is another one, a third line, which is probably a chip select or something. And the display is connected to a power supply plus a VA. I don't know the exact value, maybe 12 volt or 5 volt, I don't know. And the VCC line. And this is also connected to the power supply board, so I think it's a power supply also. This is the EEPROM. The EEPROM communicates with the processor using a I2C bus. This is a crystal oscillator for the crystal for the processor. We find also 3 inputs. The inputs are connected to the rear connector, the circular connector on the back of the instrument. So each input uses a diode, so the inputs are active at a low level. There is a pull-up to the voltage plus I name it plus VA. I don't know the actual value. If it is 5, 12 volt or something else, I don't know actually. But we can see that we have an input divider before the gate with 127K and 50K. So I assume that this voltage should be above at least 12 volt, because as you have a divider by a ratio of 3, something like that. If this was connected to 5 volt, the voltage here will not be enough to have a high level at the input. So I think that this voltage is at least 12 volt in order to have a voltage here above, because the power supply on this board is a 5 volt, because it was connected also to the same power supplies and the processor. So the typical threshold at the input is 2.5 volt. So you need a voltage at least above 2.5 volt. So that means that effectively you should have a voltage of something like 12 volt to be sure that we are always above this minimum threshold voltage. Okay, for that. And here we have the supervisory circuit. So supervisory circuit, I have the data sheet of it. And this is this supervisory circuit. We have, I try to make a small zoom on this page. So you have a switch here which is used to make the selection between two inputs. Use a battery and the normal voltage, but this feature is not used in this design, of course, and we don't have any battery or something else. So this is not used neither. What is used in this design is the power fail and the watchdog. So the power fail is connected to the processor. It is these lines, pin 10, and the input is this signal here. For this, I don't understand very much what happened here, because there is a threshold of 1.3 volt as indicated in the data sheet here. So you have at the output a low level when the input voltage falls below 1.3 volt. But if you see the schematics, this input is filtered by this 100K and this capacitor. I don't know the value, it's the tantalum value, maybe 10 microfarad or something like that. And this is connected to plus 10 volt, plus 5 volts, sorry. So this voltage will be 5 volt in normal conditions, so it is always above 1.3 volt. And in order that this voltage falls below 1.3 volt, that means that the power supply should also fall below 1.3 volt, but in this case nothing works, so it's understand. But the reset line is also connected to this, so when the reset is activated, for example at power on, or when the watchdog is activated, this line effectively falls to 0. In this case, this voltage will fall also to 0, so it will activate the power fail output here. But I don't know exactly how it is used in this board. Anyway, for the watchdog is used. The watchdog, there are different. There is an input, a watchdog input, which is not connected. And when the watchdog input is not connected, it uses the internal oscillator for the watchdog. So the watchdog, it is not the watchdog input, the watchdog selection. The watchdog selection is let me see. There is a watchdog. Yes, the oscillator selection. Sorry, when the oscillator selection is left open, the part uses the internal clock for the watchdog. Otherwise, you can input a clock, but in this case, it's not used. The oscillator in actually is connected to the ground, and this terminal is left open. So the reset generator on the watchdog uses internal clock, and the reset line of the watchdog is a watchdog input here, which is connected to the processor through this line. So every cycle, the processor will generate a small pulse which activates the watchdog. And during a given time, if the pulse doesn't appear after a time defined by the timer of this controller, there will be a reset of the processor directly here. So the reset line is used at power on, so this part generates a smaller reset, a pulse, and this reset is positive with this processor. And also, when the watchdog fails, there is a problem in the code, so when there is nothing happen in this line during a certain time, this part will activate the reset, and the system will start up again. So the last part is the ADC. So the ADC communicates with the processor using three lines. So it's a SPI bus. The data in and out are common. They share the same line because the processor has open drain with a weak pull-up to the power supply, so you can use the same line for input and output. So the power supply of the ADC actually use the voltage reference, and the power supply of the ADC, I have the data sheet somewhere, yes, here. Okay, so this ADC is a dual. There are different versions, but we have the two inputs version. It's a 10-bit with 20 microseconds conversion time, And you can see that the power supply is also the voltage reference, because we have only 8 pins, so you cannot don't have enough pins to have, so the power supply shares the same signal for the voltage reference. So you have two inputs from 0 to the voltage reference, which is 5 volts in this case. And you have also the voltage reference goes to the analog board. It is something I didn't see last time when I made the teardown. When I made the teardown of the analog board, so we'll take a look again, because this is important, because it was a question I asked to myself about this circuit. So we'll take a look on the previous schematic. I made some minor modification. So this is instrumentation amplifier for the thermocouple. So the thermocouple is here, it's connected to there. So the instrumentation amplifier has a gain of 86 actually, so it's a high gain because the thermocouple gives a very small voltages. So this goes to the ADC channel 0, okay? And the voltage reference actually was this line. So I named this line 5 volt reference. So this gives with this resistor divider a voltage close to 0.5 volt here, which is buffered with this voltage follower, and this voltage is applied to the common line of the instrumentation amplifier. That is to say, if you have 0 volt differential at the input, you will have 0.5 volt at the output. Now the second output actually, so we see now that effectively you have a pull-up of a 30K.1 connected to the voltage reference, and this goes to a terminal at the output on the rear. On the rear panel you have a circular connector, and this is one of the pin. So obviously there should be a sensor or something which is connected to this line, to the ground, in order to have something which varies here from 0 to 5 volt, and this is connected to channel 0. So in my opinion, this is used for the cold junction compensation. Maybe there is a resistive sensor which should be close to the junction, to the cold junction of the thermocouple, in order to measure the junction and to make the correction by firmware. And also something I did not understand was this, but maybe this is a feature that permits to detect something wrong in the sensor. For example, if the sensor is not connected or if it is broken, this line will be at 0 volt because there is nothing connected here. So you have just this resistor. So you can see that you have the same resistor here. So probably, it's not probably, I'm sure that it is to compensate, to have a compensation of the bias current, because if you have a bias current here, the bias current is identical, you will give the differential voltage will be compensated, and you have a divider here which gives a voltage of I didn't make the calculation, but as we have a 5 volt here, you have 100 ohms and 6.4K, it will be maybe 50 millivolt or something. And as this voltage is 0 volts, you apply a positive voltage to the negative input. So this voltage, instead of, if there is a 0.5 volt in normal condition, once you have 0 volt, but in this case will be above, under this value, below 0.5 volt, maybe to ground, and maybe if the voltage is below 0.5 volt, maybe it is possible to detect effectively something wrong in the sensor line, in the thermocouple line. So maybe it's a detection of failure of the thermocouple, but I'm not sure. Otherwise, I made some measurement on the display, and the backlight actually is a lamp, because I measured something like 6 ohms, and in the both direction. I made some tests with the power supply, and effectively the backlight light up when I apply a voltage. So this is a classic lamp. Okay, so the rest are identical. Also, I checked the schematics, and the reset line of the timer actually is active at a low level. I thought it was a high level, but actually it's a low level. So it changes a little bit what I thought before. So actually, when the reset is activated, when there is a 0 volt here, there is a discharge. So the discharge line is activated, so it's connected to ground actually. So this voltage is 0, and in this case, the output will be at a full voltage. Will be this. It's an op-amp, but used in a comparator mode. And in this case, you will have a high level here, and the lamp will be activated at maximum intensity. And the rest is the same. That is to say that there should be effectively a ramp here, or as a triangle, or also two voltage. I don't know. It depends on the values of this resistor. And there is effectively a duty cycle here. And when the input is left is not connected to anything, there is a 0 volt here. But due to this divider to the power supply, you will have a positive voltage here. And if you have 0 volt here, you will have 0 volt at the output, and this thing and this part is on reset mode, and effectively you have a positive voltage and 0 volt here, so you have full amplitude. In order that the variation of luminosity is activated, you should have an input voltage enough to be above this threshold. That is to say that from input from 0 to a given voltage, I don't know, I didn't note the values of this resistor, but from 0 to a given threshold, the amplitude should, the intensity of the backlight should be maximum. And when the input voltage increases, I think that the backlight should reduce in intensity. So this is to give more details about this analog board. You can see the full schematic, but the rest is identical. So I think this is the complete teardown for the moment of the analog board and the digital board. So the next step will be to try to make running this instrument. I'm not sure I will do the teardown of the power supply board, but we can have a look on the power supply board. Because power supply board generally is not very interesting, except if there is a problem with this board. So in this board there are components on both sides of the PCB. So this is the power supply board. We have a classic TL494 for it's a pulse width modulation controller. So this is probably the output power transistor to drive. But there is a coil, and there is also a transformer here. So on this side we have several resistors and diodes, some passive. I can see that it is in German. Next card, so probably I don't know what it means. Maybe power supply board. Card means board, but okay. So in the other side, so except you can see that we have two common mode shocks, one there and one there. So it will be easy to find the power supply. So I assume that the power supply should be the input of these two lines. One should be connected to the ground at this side, and the other one will be the power supply. So it will be easy to run this board and just check these two lines and apply a power supply. Otherwise, you have some tantalum capacitors, some high-speed diode probably, and that's it. And there is nothing special on this board. So the power supply board is connected, you can see, to the analog board through this flat cable, and there is a connection between the analog board and the digital board through another cable. So the power supply of the CPU board goes through the analog board. So there are actually some connections between this cable and the other one to supply the CPU board. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching. See you next time for trying to make running this display. Bye bye.